at Worlds they haven't performed too well with, but we'll see what Cloud9 have here for their next one. As again, we expect bot and jungle focus in the first, but lots of adaptation in the later stages.
And they're both priority laners. Jace in the top lane, there are not many matchups that you can really run happily into it. Maokai's the best of the tank matchups, and Lucian blind pick has priority on a lot of lanes. So to me, it's trying to just give coverage for both 957 and Xia, allow them to opt into what they usually like to go for, the happy wave clear, the tank also, and continue to build around Mystic's Cogmore.
Yeah, Orianna, I think that's actually triggered by the Lucian ban. Lucian is often a pick into Orianna, and Orianna was one of Jensen's best picks during the regular season in the NALCS Summer Split. So while I don't necessarily think he was definitely going to go for it, I understand the ban by Team WE.
Well, see what Cloud9 take it out of this phase at least. Again, trying to set up now. They have one counter pick, but will not get this one, so have to show their hand and Impact. Going to keep it safe with the
big pick for him.
Shen's been banned against him frequently. It's only one game in the group stage, but a very memorable one where he specifically won the Cho'Gath versus Shen matchup. Especially early, he was getting a big CS lead. He was taking aggressive trades. Cho'Gath is taken by many teams at that spot, but when you go for the Shen, you free up specifically contracts to play a very aggressive invading style, and if he likes the Cho'Gath matchup, he's probably going to get it.
And this is an interesting thing because I think both teams, in a sense, are getting what they want. Team WE got the most powerful support by picking blue side. They've also picked tremendous scaling with the Kog'Maw, the Corki, and Cho'Gath in their 3 lanes as carries. But C9 is just planning to try and run over Team WE in the early game. So very early on here, we're going to see the result of this game. Really, who's going to have the lead by 15 minutes? Because if C9's jumped out to a huge lead, they would be in control. But if they haven't, Team WE might take this one home.
And that's certainly been the thing that's really... Hey! Oh my god! Aurelion Sol for Jensen.
I was thinking about the Cassiopeia. I was thinking, okay, laning into Corki, what can you take? Jensen's bringing back an old favorite. First, Aurelion Sol. Certainly since the group stage started. I love these new picks we're getting dribbled out week after week, and the Aurelion Sol roaming a Shen. You can put it together and guess the Cloud9 focusing on that early to mid.
We can check this, but I am 99% sure Jensen has never played this champion in competitive.
That's what first comes to mind. He was not one of the people to ever play this. I see about 15 mid laners on the pool for him in 2017, but I agree with your Pastry. This is completely out of left field for Jensen.
Who he sends his regards, brings himself to the tournament with his famous Aurelion Sol, this time from Jensen. Roaming style from Jensen. He's been playing forward. He's been more of a facilitator. The camp for Jensen strategy really hasn't been that much on display, especially since the group stage started. And I feel like, specifically with Contract's mindset, we're getting aggressive for C9.
Yeah, full confirmation. This is the first Aurelion Sol game for Jensen. He already did prep some new picks for the World Championship. In the play-in stage, he played Galio mid, something that people didn't think he'd be able to do. In the past, he has been criticized for not playing some of those supportive mid laners. Now, he's playing everything. This is the roaming champion.
Certainly is. It's amazing to see such a big change here for Jensen, but again, you come to Worlds, the metagame shifts, your power maybe not where you want it to be through your mid laner. Well, you have to change things, and Cloud9, as much as they have played their style so often through the tournament, now up against one of their most fearsome opponents here, they have to change things, and this is a huge change in the first game.
And what I will say about this team composition from C9 is when we started to see Caitlyn make a resurgence into the pro game, which was actually back at MSI in 2016 with COG, it was so often paired with Aurelion Sol because the setup of the Siege is emboldened by having the Star Surge from Aurelion Sol going around and setting up the Caitlyn.
And I feel like for the side of WE, there should be no ambiguity of where the Aurelion Sol will play around, because it's still, remember the bot lane matchup, it is Kate Lulu versus a Kog'Maw Janna lane, so they are going to be looking for the fast push. Aurelion Sol can leave lane as early as level 2. I think we've even seen level 1 roams, but realistically, the level 2. So getting one of those 5 to 10 minute turrets is going to be the priority, and C9 are looking to spring WE's own early game priority Caitlyn comp on them, and potentially even better with what Aurelion Sol can uniquely provide.
And I do feel like it is so greedy by Team WE, knowing they're going up against the Caitlyn and the Lulu, picking the Kog'Maw, and then also starting with the Relic Shield on that Kog'Maw. So there is an opportunity for C9 to take some huge advantages here, but Team WE got here because of Mystic and because of the way they can play around him. So the confidence is not unfounded.
And I love the point that you point out the Relic Shield, because this has not been the standard in quarterfinals. Groups, certainly, but in quarterfinals, Doran's Shield has risen to allow for just maybe a couple more minutes on the turret with more combat stats, with more regen. So going back to Relic Shield is basically saying, hey, we don't respect that you can push your timings as well as this comp may indicate. It has been Cloud9 style, but somehow we've ignored all of what has happened at Worlds. We've gone back to LPLWE in terms of what they want to do, pull it long. But C9, they're pressuring early.
Already getting that lane priority in mid. This is what Aurelion Sol does. He gets the first wave shoved early. Oftentimes he would actually go and start taking enemy Raptors, but that was years ago before many junglers started there. Jensen opts not to, but what we do know is he's pushed Xie in, and that gives Contracts a window to go and try and take this blue buff.
Good word here, though. He's going to spot Contracts at least, so WE will have the necessary information as they move through the rest of this game, and you can already see Condi actually spiking up towards the blue buff. So we're going to actually vertically split the map to start things off, and again, with WE being so bottom lane focused, they should be fine with this.
Yeah, I actually think that this is a favorable vertical jungle for Team WE, because if you look at the way C9 is actually going to snowball this game, it is through the bottom lane, so it's important that Condi can get a little bit of vision.
Certainly, I would actually agree with you completely there, Jack. I feel like C9, if anything, would have loved to split the map with them owning the bot side, so specifically Aurelion Sol can make his visits more likely to be unseen. Now we know there could be wards anywhere on the bot side of the jungle. It's extra coverage for Mystic and Ben, and there's no advantage really to allow Shen to overextend, barring some decent damage trades if he can use aggressively the taunt.
But Papa Smithy, based on the lack of bot lane control, and when Condi went for the blue buff ward, Sneaky and Smoothie actually fell out of lane. That meant that Condi did not counter jungle blue or any sides there, so he's actually extremely far behind here. Contracts full health, will be able to take Raptors, and then still do a full clear of his blue side. So based on the vertical split, C9 actually wins out huge.
They went up, all ends up. It looked like it would be even, but like you say, Jad, that last bit of execution wasn't there for WE. They felt the need to pull back. They're going on an information invade. Notice that Condi still is only at 2 buffs, still only level 2.
Also have these trades in top as well. Impact, again, knowing that this matchup is likely, seems to feel comfortable and has been winning in those early trades. Jensen also got his first back in, has some early laning power here with the Dark Seal, now joining that Corrupting Potion. So certainly Jensen, either in his lane or somewhere else, can get aggressive, and Xie will be forced to Valk away.
And also 957 just used his teleport to get back to lane phase. So the fact that Contracts has such a large experience lead on Condi just going to hit level 3 off of that Krug camp, where Contracts is level 4 and can hit level 5 if he clears that quadrant of the jungle, makes a bottom lane dive a likelihood that is difficult for Team WE to counter.
Yeah, now we reset what we were talking about in terms of vertical jungle. Now we just say they're on the right side. Though Condi is looking top side.
Trying something here onto Impact, but Impact can't see him just yet. 957 though, actually playing pretty far back. Big wave built, and here comes Condi. Taunt's good, Impact can just skate on out of there.
Impact played that so extremely well. It's like he sensed that Gragas was behind him, cheating down, going back and forth, and then taunting immediately before the body slam could hit. I think Condi misplayed that, but it was very well played by Impact.
And on the bot side of the map, at the same time, Contracts is junglering bot side. They have no information on where Contracts is, so the minimap tells the real story. We can't see the turret HP on the screen just yet, but you know exactly what game plan they're trying. It's only slowly building, but every time Aurelion Sol goes missing, further action goes bot side. This time, though, the Aurelion Sol's actually top side.
Coverage for Impact, TP in for WE also, but actually Impact might be okay. Jensen, he's gonna make it! Maybe in time! 957 goes down. First blood to Impact, and Xie forced to flash. Does get the counter kill as Jensen now already burned the heal. Might have to flash back towards the turret, is trying to buy a bit more time, and WE, they'll pull away. Condi almost goes down as well. Actually, Jensen still fighting Xie, but that bad times there, the voice of light. They line up, and Jensen snipes him down.
Just hit level 6, popped it out, got the mana for it as well. Things go better than expected, and I think WE was surprised that, sure, they knew Aurelion Sol would leave lane, but going topside, that wasn't the original plan of this draft.
The wave pressure for C9 is just overflowing right now. 12 CS lead in the bottom lane, first blood to their top laner, first level 6 onto Jensen. This ends up going horribly wrong, and even while they're threatening this dive, Jensen is 2/3 of the way there. Then a missed and dodged body slam by Impact to extend this play.
Yeah, didn't get the flash onto the Cho'Gath. He dies anyway. Xie looking for the kill, eventually gets it, but because he has the mana up, he's popping the corrupting charge. He's able to get so much more return damage and wait for the 6, because the 6 here was big.
Yeah, he needs the mana from the level up as well. Knows he's going to get it on the turret, stays close. Xie right in the death path of that Aurelion Sol, and that's such a good start for the first time we've ever seen Jensen play the champion.
And look, 3 stacks on the Dark Seal. Catalyst already finished. Jensen having everything go his way. And again, the Caitlyn that we talked about to set up this game. We expected both Mystic and Sneaky to play it. Look at the amount of damage that left unattended Sin have been able to do with their duo lane.
And that's why originally when we saw vertical jungling be set up by WE bot side, we're like, wait, suddenly now it's overextensions for C9 to make the play. There is some defensive wards. They do see on the bot side, Jensen going for that second roam of the game, but the action, it's all bot side now.
Yeah, and they don't even need to dive this turret because Contracts is level 6 against Condi. Even with that first blood assist that Condi was able to help with, he is 800 gold down on Contracts right now. So at least in the first 7 minutes, Cloud9's early game snowball is online, but they must keep this pressure up.
And Cloud9 really decide where this game is played. The moment that Aurelion Sol and a level 6 Jarvan enter an area of the map, WE have to be the most defensive, the longest route possible. They're just on information. It's a human ward here from Condi.
Condi's in a smart position, but this can also be a 5-man dive for C9. So Condi will surprise him here, but what does C9 bring? They got Shen as well.
Now they know, but here comes Jensen. Stun already lands in. Stage now they're going to be committed. Condi flashes out, but Impact follow flashes for the kill. Dive,
they want everybody.
C9 looking for a Jensen, going to tank a few turret. It's an Impact. He's going to go in next. Tornado down. Mystic flashes out of the stun, but Ben not so lucky. Smoothie able to take him down, and they get first turret gold. And Jensen chasing down Mystic. Barrier pop, but that's not enough.
4,000 gold, 8 minutes into the game by C9. When you draft up these early game compositions, this is exactly what you're hoping for.
Early game versus scaling is always a seesaw. How much scaling can we take to not get punished by an early game team? When you're looking at the mid lane champion pool from Jensen, if you look historically, you don't give him credit for the Aurelion Sol, but he warps his playstyle. He plays for the team, and it's a bot lane focus for a team where Smoothie is not often named as the primary carry.
And this cuts both ways. C9 has done so much to do right here, but Team WE is doing this wrong. They have no TP in top lane, no TP in mid lane. They cannot control the Shen ultimate. They do not have vision of Aurelion Sol. WE has to run. They cannot defend this 5-man dive. It is a fool's errand.
Maybe this play works with at least one TP up, but Cho'Gath is 20 seconds away. Corki's nowhere near. They had the double TP in case of this sort of situation, but the proactivity of C9 keeps foxing what the side of WE is trying to defend.
And to add insult to injury, Mystic burned his barrier when there was no realistic way of him escaping the Aurelion Sol. It was a heal up, flash up on that guy, and he was never going to outrun the stars.
And of course, the thing that kind of ties it all together is after all of that play, after the first turret, after those kills, after that dive, C9 also got the Drake, which was an Infernal. So now the swap comes from C9. They're going to apply so much pressure with 3 and soon to be 4 if Jensen wants to make it. And this tower will quickly fall. 957 already chunked at 30%
And that's
health.
a lot of poke. He's got flash up, but Contrast could follow with a lot of stuff. Condi's there for the defense.
Condi looking to cover. Good rupture actually by 957. Clears the wave out.
What we need to remember in a game like this is that if no junglers are involved, if it was a 4v4 game, C9 take every objective. The tools aren't there for WE yet to hold things. So it's all about Condi anticipating the play, being there first, and even delaying turrets going down, because he can show himself, but he can't actually have kill pressure. So it's delaying the clock, but delaying the clock is really what they opted into the moment they cemented Kog'Maw Janna as their bot lane.
And you can see this specifically from Cloud9. It is staggering how different their games are with leads versus without.
Yeah, pastry time. Sometimes these graphs are hard to read, but look at this. When it gets past 10 minutes, you know what's happening. We've got spoilers on the screen, Jack.
Exactly, but I will also say that in those games, most of the time, C9 was also with relatively even scaling to the opponent. This is a game where Team WE does have the Kog'Maw Janna in the super late game, but we are far from that point. C9 absolutely in a position to win with this goal lead 10 minutes.
And I like that you say super late game, because late game, you don't just hand it over. Super late game, when we're talking 5-6 items on both the AD carries, the Corki and the Kog'Maw, I agree. But this team can fight at 30 minutes with a decent gold advantage. It's only after that where things really gain parity.
And this is also a game of tempo. Can they continue to make plays around their cooldowns, and how long did they sit on those cooldowns? Impact had Shen ultimate up the last time they dove Mystic and Ben. it's back up again. He's waited the 180 seconds. There's also a control ward behind C9 in that top lane. But the question is, can WE even think about making an aggressive play? I say no, because they are too far behind at this point. They're up against a BF Sword Caitlyn, an 11, like what was that, a 9-minute Ardent Sensor by Smoothie, and the Shen ultimate is back up.
I mean, they just don't have the information. It'd be a shot in the dark, but they drafted themselves a sort of comp that can't put a spotlight anywhere. The vertical jungling ended. 3-buffed was Condi, and from there, it's just been C9 dictating every move in the first 12 minutes.
And look at this, Sneaky, just gonna wait, deny a couple of extra caster creeps, and then take yet another turret. Contracts also got the Rift Herald, so if he wants, they can move all that tempo to mid and just break open the outer ring of turrets.
Yeah, and that was a tactic we saw long ago on the lane swap days to try and bounce back the turret, letting the turret kill every single one of your minions. He then stuck around for the cannon wave, so it's mostly irrelevant, and it's a little bit of golden now, but that just goes to show how far ahead C9 is in the pace of this game.
And I do bounce up and down by the fact that really your notebook for Worlds 2017, it looked like it was going to be one page, Ardent Sensor, delay, 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 but they've had to go back to so many old metas to understand the defensive support's coming back, the engaged support's coming back, the Rift Herald's used here, but so far, we've had so much variety, and this is another bit of it.
And C9 is doing this exactly right. They get enough damage to the turret. Now they're going on to Con. He's going to have to flash.
Yep, that's a flash out. Dunk there from Contracts. Commits the Cataclysm as the turret does fall in C9's favor. Shelly will keep going for a little while longer, but she and his fresh Trinity Force going to keep that one down.
And the minimap tells a story that no previous WE game since group stages has told. Kog'Maw was top lane. Whenever WE have fallen behind, most notably the Misfits game, their last game of groups when the 2v2 was lost, they would just barrel down with their jungler and try to get objectives because their main focus is get gold on Mystic, get gold in their AD carry, hit 2 items. And sure, you might be losing in tempo, but you know how strong this team can be in a 5v5 when they know their own power with items. Just seeing Kog'Maw leave lane, thinking he might have to go mid with no item buy, he only got a pickaxe from it, lets you know that for the first time since group stages started, WE have been forced to actually react to the pace of another team.
And I do think it's a little bit shocking that Team WE is in this state right now, since they were the team that debuted this strategy at Worlds. They understand how you get the advantage bottom lane, move it top, get the Rift Herald, break mid. They did it, and they were the first ones to do it. Yet when they see C9 early lock the Caitlyn, it's clear as day going to be that. And they thought that they were going to be good enough in the lane and in the early game to prevent this type of snowball from happening, and they're down 5,000 gold. The rest of the game still has to be played out, but I'm very surprised by this early result.
And just based on the bot lane, the price they've paid is now apparent. That 9-minute Sensor for Smoothie has been joined by Berserker Greaves and a 13-minute Infinity Edge from Sneaky. So this is going to get messy. Misty and Ben, though, looks like they're able to back away.
And looking at the way C9 is building as well, with a Cinderhulk Jarvan, there is a worry that C9 runs out of damage at a certain point. So they absolutely have to keep this tempo, maybe even faster than this with the way they're going. They've gone heavy on the tank ability, and they do have some very strong power points, but it will run out.
It's getting harder to go so much faster, though, Jack. The easy objectives are all dead. The Baron. 6 minutes seems like a long time with how far C9 are ahead before that becomes an objective they can even set up for. Setting up control wards and actually assaulting inner turrets is usually more specific. A brush camp at level 9 from Agragas could turn from something, but I feel the same feel you do. They still feel like they're on a clock to keep maximizing because the question marks do come in about 15 minutes.
Exactly. Cloud Drake should be taken immediately. They need to keep the waves pushed. But I think more so in the next 5 minutes, they need to burn WE flashes. I actually don't care if they get the kills out, because if they can get a flashless Mystic or flashless Xie, then the Baron Force at 20 minutes becomes so much more threatening, since WE won't be able to check it. And that's how C9 needs to win this game. They get vision control in the jungle, they burn flashes, and they take Baron at 20 minutes.
Xie, they're going to get ganked. Smoothie, Sneaky, and the rest of the crew almost there, but Xie commits the package to get himself away.
Yeah, Xie is happy to just push up a minion wave and then back, because there's nothing for Cloud9 to fight for. Basically, everything has been surrendered. They've been able to set up a side of the map where Kog'Maw can farm, which actually 3 minutes ago was looking pretty tricky, but for now, they've been able to do so because Cloud9 are pushing around the map. But we really are waiting for Cloud9 to go back, buy some control wards, set up somewhere, and try assaulting those inner turrets, because there's just nothing else to fight for.
It's helping as well. Impact on the Shen, of course, level 11 with the TP just about to come back up. And Titanic was his first item. So that pressure is there. Nice nado from Ben is going to deny contracts from Flag dragging over. But actually, again, this converted onto the top side, tier 2, Cloud9. Looks like they're finally going to try a siege, at least for a little bit.
Exactly. And for as much as C9 is smashing, they are one team fight loss away from losing this game. That is the pressure you're opting into when you play these early game team compositions.
Sneaky took a lot of damage, actually. Condi now looking for the flash. Doesn't have it, though. Contract's going to recommit. Ulti already out from Gragas. Contract does the Cataclysm, but then flashes out of it. Sneaky catches him in a trap, but the Tornado's going to stop that. Jensen, looking for the snipe here, but again, C9 just happy to play patient.
Really like the cast coming through from Condi. He hit away both BPS members, and Contracts realized he could be turned upon, knock him away. That's extra cooldowns forced by WE. They start the assault, the turret is still healthy.
Yeah, this is the setup. You put Caitlyn outside the turret, you have Aurelion Sol in tow, but they get such a small amount of damage onto that turret, and they haven't actually set up a very good trap line that push turns into pretty much nothing.
Mid lane minion wave starts to push back. It takes about a minute to reset up where they were at, where they had tempo in 2 lanes and were pushing up. Trades for Impact going well, but not necessarily completely one-sidedly. Jensen popping over, but I think 957 knows exactly what to do.
Yeah, maybe a 1v2 could have made that a little bit easier to C9, but again, just transitioning through the lanes, trying to get a little bit more initiative and shove through. But the 2 marksmen on the WE side doing a great job actually defending from all these pushes. And again, despite the lead for C9, they haven't cracked the next step just yet.
Exactly, because they have a lead, but they don't actually have the items that show that lead. It's a Rageblade versus IE. It's a Trinity Force on the Corki. There's a Righteous Glory on the Kog'Maw. C9 doesn't have the item power spikes currently. Everyone on their team is sitting on over 1,500 gold.
And it's such a sensitive balance for someone like Mystic to be farming top lane with all this. It's basically saying, hey, I think enough cooldowns are down on Cloud9 that the chance of us being engaged on 5v4 is low enough that I can push an extra wave. And trust me, Mystic is greedy. He loves to get his CS. He loves to hit his 2-item spikes. It's so delicate, but now that the Cataclysm and other cooldowns are coming up, Mystic really needs his team to continue to delay. Every time you see Mystic getting a free minion wave, pushing out to get minions as far up as the outer top lane turret, that's time that C9 wasn't putting to optimal use.
No, and again, they had a ton of gold to go spend, so I think, again, like Jat said, fishing for some flashes, trying to get something happening there, and just waiting for that next objective. Baron, for the first time, will spawn in a minute 35, and Mountain Drake will come up in the next few minutes. So C9 playing certainly slower than we might expect, but you know they have something planned once that real critical point hits.
Yeah, not being able to burn flashes and not being able to get substantial damage on the inner turrets is not that good for C9 right now, because if we look at the items that are actually completed, the Rageblade and the Trinity Force on the way to the Static Shib on the 2 carries of Team WE are somewhat comparable to the damage that C9 have built on their carries. And outside of those carry positions, it is just tank and setup in this game right now.
I believe both Shen and Jarvan are going for the rushed adaptive helm to try to counter the Kog'Maw damage. That'll be big for them, as we can see on screen. 957 taking a very one-sided trade. Does feel, like you say, a bit of a seesaw between when will that item be complete, when can they fight again? Because for now, without that item completion, you could see in your head, you can prophesize a fight that WE actually wins, even though they're still over 5,000 gold behind.
And it's all about Baron. Ardent Sensor really helps you take Baron. The Caitlyn can set up. They can get this foot push by Shen. But if C9 doesn't play this early pre-25-minute Baron, there's a good chance that Team WE comes back in this game. So C9, great position to be in right now. Just have control Baron.
Line has been held maybe a little too long.
That's what they got to worry about, though.
Takes a big chunk of damage. Certainly not what you want to be. The Contract's going to try and make the play. Mystic forced to burn a summoner, but there's the Cataclysm flash used.
That's what they needed. They get the flash and the heal out of the Kog'Maw Janna duel with Baron up in 12 seconds.
Going to be a big minion wave here to siege down, but as you say, Jack, getting those summoners, those are the priority ones. Only Janna would even be comparable to what they got from getting Mystic summoners down. Opens up space. They know that WE has never been in the vicinity of Baron. Basically, this entire game, they haven't been allowed to push out that far, but the decisiveness to make the call now is going to be a fun thing to track, because C9, this is their time.
To Team WE's credit, they have 2 Farsight totems, and now they're going for
Really a flank flash time from Sneaky. Getting a Sand United smoothie. Over together. Trying to survive the feast. Makes that easier. Shea able to get that kill. Impact still moving around, but Jensen finding the flank does good damage to Condi. Mystic, though, allowed to free here. They're going to take to the control, but a great job. They're going to move the back in. Mystic able to take down Jensen. That's
2 kills they didn't want to give away.
And it was one team fight away from breaking. They get Smoothie, they take down Jensen, and they're actually pushing a power play right now.
It was insane how good that ward was. It placed much earlier. A flank TP aggressive move made at 20 minutes, and the prize is going to be big.
Mid-turret is always good, but WE could keep pushing. Drake up in 10 seconds. Baron still on the table as they take down the turret.
Yeah, this is a huge moment for Team WE. Mountain Drake even up in 3 seconds. It's only a 4,000 goal game. It was a
The 5,000 gold is not quite there, but it's close.
Exactly, the lead has actually stayed about the same for Cloud9, but the precious time that WE have bought is likely worth a lot more than that. COG still scaling up now with 2 items completed. C9's carries finally completing their next few items, but they lost the last streak. The Mountain went to WE, and again, all that work they did to get vision around the Baron, they have to do again.
And Ben hasn't been threatened, which is a big thing right here. The Janna at level 10, even with the Ardent Sensor on top of the 2-item Cogmont, is a huge power point for Team W to play around, especially with that red buff. So C9's going to move towards Baron here because they have to control this, but it's actually really difficult for them to secure it at this point.
And it took a wayward path, but WE are at item timings they are familiar with. It's 2-item Cogmore. The path that it got here is not the same as some of the other games we've seen where they just careen straight through bot lane trying to make plays. Connie might be face checking.
Yeah, Connie does face check. In fact, with Code of the Colossus might be alright. Some from Jensen, not but Context does it! Shoots out, actually, the voice of light. Deals so much damage to it. Sneaky, still taking damage as Impact finally TP's in. Mystic playing on the front line almost gets Jensen.
It's all about Janna. Unless C9 can get onto Ben, interrupt that Monsoon. That was a rank 1 Monsoon, and it was enough to repel all of C9's initiation. Contracts had to flash out of that team fight. Team WE is actually starting to assume full control of this game.
They are managing to last out team fights and get position on the map. The Baron wards that were a dream earlier before are now being contested at 23 minutes. The item timings are there. It's almost like much of the early game didn't happen. It feels like they traded down in turrets, but otherwise the feeling, the tempo of the game that was so within the grasp of C9 at 15 minutes is getting closer and closer to being out of their grasp at 25.
Exactly. Those inner turrets have barely been touched by Team WE. The Mountain Drake went over to Team WE. C9 could not threaten the Baron very well, and they haven't found any initiations onto Janna. So when we talked about how we were surprised that Team WE opened this game poorly, that's still surprising, but this is now more of an explanation on why they were willing to, because the mid-game hold that they were able to keep up is putting them in a good position.
And again, we're kind of still in a holding pattern here for this game. C9 are continuing to get gold and keep control of the map, but again, we have to look once back towards the Baron. Contracts takes out the speed shrine, might even hit the bloom here, as C9 do have decent neutral vision along the river specifically, but you'd think with all this map pressure they've been able to open up more, but WE's defense has been so good.
But you can see also here the map pressure they had, 2 lanes at the inner turrets and mid lane equalizing is gone. It's a lot more even now, so the thoughts of rushing down a Baron are gone. The setups need to be so much more precise. We saw yesterday big Baron steals. That becomes possible now, where before there was no way for Connie to even get ranged to contest that objective. 20 minutes hit, the Baron spawns. We see the amazing defensive setups of WE and even a proactive play, and now things are much more within their hold.
And C9 definitely do look out of sorts. When they've made their Jarvan initiations, they haven't been a 5-man team, they haven't had their damage and range, and they haven't found flanking positions. Even Impact down in that bottom lane, now that both of their tank line does have the adaptive helm, is not winning that 1v1 against 957 to give them a teleport or global advantage. So none of the things that they need to play around to win are happening, and this gold graph has now looked like no other that we've seen from C9 so far.
Shea actually just going to gank down here, and lock up is good as the silence hits as well. Impact forced to flash as Jensen going to try and turn it back around, but doesn't ride the stun all the way in. 957 not even clipped.
Remember that both teleports are available. We saw C9 on the minimap pushing around Baron, but Aurelion Sol is here. WE have the ability to react to the Baron faster, so not actually going to be a reasonable start there for C9.
Yeah, and the tank Jarvan plus the Caitlyn and Lulu do not kill that fast enough. I do think that if C9 is going to execute this, you actually wanted the Warrior Jarvan to smash that game, one-shot the Kog'Maw before they could get their defensive items up, because it's starting to look like Team WE have their defensive options in place, and it's just a matter of extending this game to 40 minutes where they can win the team fights for free.
Well, certainly things looking good for WE, but Cloud9 continuing to fight. Sneaky going to go back, and we also have another Infernal Drake to fight for in 45 seconds. Again, C9 getting stronger, but it just feels like WE scale that touch better. And again, without that additional pressure being able to be applied, yes, the gold lead's still in favor of C9, but you equalize those turrets, and that gold lead almost cuts in half.
And I'm sure the viewers at home can appreciate how delicate a game like this was, because Cloud9 did so much right in the early game. They were given the sort of draft you wouldn't have expected, given that WE's lane priority strats with Caitlyn, they were the first to show that halfway through week 2. They pushed to a point, but it almost felt like they entered the exam, answered all the questions, and looked at the clock and said, wow, like we're a bit early here. Like, it feels like we got all this extra time. What's going on? One false move, one great play by 957 with the flank teleport. They realize there's an extra page on that particular exam, and now things are getting a lot more tricky.
The essay section, so to speak.
Yeah.
Nailing the multiple
Oh boy,
choice.
multiple choice
How do you
though.
play
Pretty
the
good multiple choice.
They nailed it. They got the first 3 turrets down, but look at this now. With Infernal Drake up, Team WE is getting full control over the Baron area, and they're going to force C9 into face check scenarios.
And unfortunately for C9, this has kind of been one of their things. They've improved so much over the last 18 months. Never mind though, actually initiation started, contract. He's going to get silenced, staging out, knock one up, gets knocked into the bounce house. 957 takes an impact, made it in, but Ben barely alive to monsoon his way to safety. Jensen burned the ulti for a lot of burst. But WE again live with 5.
Ben not dying there means Odin sensors up, means that the team is still healed. Impact's trying though.
Mystic got tons of damage, still not enough through all the heals and the barrier, forcing the fight. Sneaky burns down the Shea, finds the snipe. WE do it again.
Aurelion Sol was silenced, so it actually contracted all 5 of them.
Oh no, Jensen trying to make the play, and Shea gets a double kill. Takes him down, and Cena walk in and all die.
These fights are so close, but WE have drafted such a WE comp. These Kog'Maw comps are their bread and butter, and the bread and butter right now is stronger than the American Pie.
And listen to those roars from the crowd. They were waiting for that team fight this whole game. And so much does go wrong for C9. They were very close to winning this fight. The body slam misses, but the focus on contracts right here as the channel comes in takes the aggression away from C9. They're not willing to go all in right here with that voice of light. The fact that they didn't kill Ben means he can heal up so much with that monster.
Ben dies here. I think they bulldoze the fight. They go for the re-engage, which they didn't need to opt into. Watch Jensen in the next fight. Impact comes in. The stars are expanded, but the silence drops the damage from the Aurelion Sol. 400 or 500 damage might have got one member. It doesn't happen. And on the back of all this, WE pick up an Infernal.
Sneaky as well could never find the right target. He nearly killed Chie over the top. He then chased Condi down at the bottom. And then when he did try and go for Mystic, the flash forward was straight into a rupture for that fight.
Nearly might be the word of the day for game 1 here. The gold lead is gone. There's no gold lead for either side. WE have wrestled back what looked like an unwinnable position, and now they have the scaling advantage, and C9 don't even have a gold lead to their name.
Yeah, and when we talk about why Caitlyn fell out of meta, these are the games you're talking about. Even if you have a strong early game, if the enemy team ever catches up, your damage falls off. You do not have the attack speed for level scaling. You do not have the same crit damage when someone steps on your traps. And you struggle to find last hits. They are absolutely outscaled right here. That 300 gold lead is effectively a massive lead for Team WE.
WE even with the Infernal Drake to match. So again, really everything in their favor, especially with still a minute 50 left with the Baron to play with. 957's going to give them the lead and tie up the turret deficit. And with that, WE have been in a position they have found themselves in so many times in this iteration of the team's career. Fall behind, doesn't matter. Mystic's where he needs to be, and that's all they need.
And it also bucks the trend of C9 at Worlds. Every game where they were ahead at 10 minutes, they would win. At 15 minutes, they would win. And all the goal graphs looked exactly the same, ending around 30 or 35 minutes. This game, completely different than that. They have not played totally yet.
Ulti burnt there by Lulu, keeping Sneaky alive again. I mean, Mystic is already enough of a problem, but Xie, another very strong late game carry, it would have pretty comfortably almost solo Sneaky.
It's just such an interesting world where teams have shown strategies, shown 2 weeks to play, and then you make predictions based on that play, and suddenly they return to old trends.
Goodness.
This is LPLWE at its finest.
Sneaky again just can't really stay here, and this turret's gonna melt. C9 know they need to make a play, but they need to set up, can't find it. Silence again. Finds on, and they're Sneaky getting it knocked back in. No, oh, not quite enough for the Gragas, and now C9 gonna try and shred through, but Ben is doing so much work with her Janna ulti, and C9 just cannot hold. They're gonna lose this inhib, and maybe more. Sneaky the next target, but he nets out from under Condi's body slam. 957 though wants to take him down. Rocket is good. Jensen back from the dead, out of the fountain. Towards it, into the turret, they grab the shutdown. Jensen also taking a little bit too much, but Mystic took down Jensen and goes down to Sneaky.
Jensen is the one who carried that fight from the back end for C9 because that was nearly game over for Team WE. The start of that team fight was so well. Ben empowering his front line by catching them in the Monsoon heal to make them essentially invulnerable, but then they continued diving and went a little bit.
It was a great play, but the ultimate irony of it, Jat, is it only buys them time. Their base is now largely destroyed. Front-to-back team fights with the Caitlyn are not going to work like they do for the Kog'Maw on the side of the WE. The chunks went into Sneaky, the turret went down, and the moment the first pick happened here, I wondered if the game was just going to end.
Yeah, the ultimate not knocking Sneaky into the team did look like it stuffed the initiation for Team WE, but once again, Ben non-disrupted on Janna, a pick that Team WE and almost everyone has excelled on, but specifically they're empowering the two carries. This is where it does go a little bit wrong though, because watch all the work Jensen does, firstly catching Xie in that stun.
Yeah, he brings in the Q, able to get the big stun. Very nice play there. Wasn't able to clip any more damage. He went down, but Impact flashes, gets the Kog'Maw, and that means the game does not end at 30 minutes.
And again, C9 going to do what they can, given what they've drafted for themselves. Certainly not ideal to find yourself back even at this stage of the game, but Caitlyn now with 4 items. Jensen with the Leandri's now finished doing a ton of damage himself. I mean, every teamfight damage number for Jensen has been impressive. Mystic, don't worry about him. He's just really good at playing a champion like Kog'Maw. I mean, the odds are stacked against C9, but it is possible. WE will see what they can do with that mid inhib down, and that Baron power play almost ended the game, but for C9 fans, this time it did not.
Exactly. The odds of Team W winning a team fight are much higher. But if Mystic or Xie do get caught out of position, you are still one team fight away from the game swinging in their favor. There's a lot of base destruction on both sides, so C9 going to try and make a play.
Trying to get a bit aggressive. Jensen trying to build a big stun to zone them off this turret, but the siege will continue.
C9 able to siege because they aggressively pushed out mid lane, even against Supers. They have a time, but it is a bit of a clock here. They should get the inner bot lane turret, but anymore, it's looking impossible.
957 also coming down, guiding the wave in towards mid. Sin and actually have to exit carefully here.
They can group up for the Blast Cone if they want.
Ooh, 957, maybe caught actually. Contract gonna commit the ultimate, the Rupture dodge by everyone else. He's actually taking a lot of damage and forced a flash cast from Condi to separate the rest of the fight. C9 looking to regroup. Sneaky needs to be careful. Mystic, such a big crit from that net.
It's a good amount of damage that C9 may be able to use to take control of the Baron area, but ultimately not too much burned by either side there. 957 just losing flash, and his stone plate should be back short.
Impact's able to teleport top. He still has Stan United, so using that cooldown to reset lanes is the right use of it for C9. They will not be making a teleport flank with a Shen anytime soon. So they go back to pushing out lanes. They'll have to aggressively push out mid again if they ever want to recreate one of these turret sieging points. We've definitely felt like we proclaimed the game over, at least heavily on one side. Earlier, then of course the big comeback. Now it feels like WE in full control. You just wonder if there could be that one big play to turn it all around once more.
Yeah, it's definitely not over until it's over, but that gold swing does indicate a massive comeback with Elder Dragon up in 17 seconds, 2 Elemental Drakes on both sides, and Baron being up at the same time. It is a lot about playmaking and who can get the right initiation, because even when Team W was down 6,000 gold, it was the fact that they got a numbers advantage in a team fight, and that's what C9 needs to try and orchestrate here, because if they fight even numbers against Team WE, they most likely lose.
Buying time for Impact, though, does take another turret, so at least space and pressure being applied by Impact is even moving closer towards the inhibitor turret. Wave's already there. Impact going to force the question now on WE.
Mid lane control is so important. They have the package on the Corki as well for a little bit longer. They're just going to push up here, and now they're forcing the fight.
Jay looks pretty one. Sneaky with the stage. Now it's going to keep him alive. Contract finds the dunk of the rupture. Tag Sneaky. Now again, Condi going to get locked in. Impact following through with the taunt. Maybe got a little too fast. Spirit's Refuge. Nice as well from Impact and Mystic. Moving forward, but the W's going to wear off eventually. And now Contract, beautiful tornado, stuffs the re-engage.
WE needed to fight to draw out the ult. They do. They look for more. Can't get it. It ends up very even. But now you don't have to stand united if you're C9.
And Ben's Janna has been stellar. He saved all of his major cooldowns still for the next fight. Look at Contracts and Smoothie, very low, trying to heal up with Redemption. But Team WE still have a lot of tools for this fight.
They know they can't face check the Baron area. They're blind as Contracts eats damage from Sneaky with a big rocket. Gonna get tagged again by the poke of Mystic's ulti. Jensen trying to find a stun, can't quite get it onto Condi.
And I think Jensen actually made a mistake there, shoving the wave when Sneaky needed it to heal up. He's at half health right now, and the minions are no longer there. That puts Team WE immediately into the Baron. They're forcing this. They have the Cho'Gath.
Sneaky again moved up, the Baron already down. Good feast there from 957. Impact into the backline of C9 trying to play this. Jensen knocked up by the Rupture. Silence not going to quite follow. Mystic kept back by the Voice of Light. Frontline holding though for WE.
And no real initiation here. Cask is down. WE are all about walking up to an objective, having the tanks in the front, and using their double 80 carries to park them down. We're actually seeing C9 make a straight translation to Elder.
They're trying to rush this. They might be able to get there. Double TP is on Team WE. 957 rushing in.
It doesn't have ulti though. 957 just going to play interference. Rupture, can he tag it? No. Sneaky last hits the Elder Dragon.
And it's all about the recall game right now. No empowered recalls on C9. They need to get back to base to defend against this Baroned up Team WE.
What we can say about C9, through all that craziness, even with the compositional advantage from WE around the Baron, to their credit, C9 had both their side waves pushed out in a massive fashion. Look at this huge grouped wave on your screen, and top lane was similar. WE did not have minions working with them while they were making that Baron hold, and even with all what we've said so far, at least C9 setups have mean that we're still within one team fight on either side of the game perhaps ending.
Yeah, and so much of Team WE is into Mystic, but that is also because Ben has done such a great job supporting him. Through the group stage, you can see a stark difference in these teams' damage distribution. So much has come out of Contracts in the group stage, but that's different this game as he went full tank Jarvan. He also had the gold lead that a Warrior Jarvan could have been arguable for the early game. In this type of late game scenario though, yes, the tank Jarvan is actually better as far as buying time.
And even him just going Jarvan is a surprise given that C9 were leaving Jarvan open as a style in their earlier games. They had 4 games of ranged junglers, 2 each of Graves and Ezreal. They were showing no priority on Jarvan. The Jarvan early was the first sign that perhaps a surprise would be laid, a trap would be laid in the draft. The Aurelion Soul was supposed to be the cherry on top of the cake, and it certainly was early. But this is, again, another team iterating what we've seen earlier, showing us new things, and it has certainly worked to a point.
Well, don't forget, WE still have Baron for a minute 20, so that bottom tier 2 falls swiftly as WE take the easy siege. 957, the teleport still cooling down.
And Infinity Edge just completed by Mystic, now stacking crit to go with all of his on-hit damage from the Rage Blade and the Blade of the Ruined King, so an even larger threat than he was before.
And the word even does not describe how the frontline battles will go in this particular next fight, though, because the armor stacking has not happened. I've seen that, understandably.
Right, it's
Going for a contract, splashes in. Impact also getting ported through. Condi maybe in trouble with the rest of WE are here. Condi eating down as Impact falls back to the team. Just
And Ben also heals everyone to full at the back end of that fight. Contracts probably flashing a little bit too early. You have to be able to trap Xie in either the Cataclysm or in range for the Shentalp if you're going to make that play.
957 wasn't there. They did not feel that they could win a true 5v5, but they can't even burst down one member before the massive dinosaur regroups. And now, once again, WE going to take at minimum an inhibitor. They're going to be sniffing for the end.
They still have the Baron buff for one more wave if they decided to go in for it.
well, tagged there by Jensen for 957, but again, he takes almost no damage, and the Warmocks will erase all that very quickly as well. WE just retake the mid inhib, and now surfing towards this bot lane are going to maybe look for another turret. Again, Impact dead, but 10 seconds till we back.
A second inhibitor will be really big for WE because the sort of stand we saw from C9 around Baron was only possible with 2 lanes pushing against 2 super minion waves. That'll be really hard to do.
Sneaky in trouble, trying to heal back up with the Ardent Sensor, cutting around a lot of that. CC actually in 957, maybe in trouble. CC, don't stop it! Goes down to Sneaky. Actually used it and still died, just not enough there for 957.
Only going to lead to a disengage. It was a lot of damage. They surprised it, but it only leads to a disengage from WE. Doesn't lead to a proactive play. What is the correct proactive play? Pushing top lane. That's the only one that's really clear right now, is the objectives. They're not on the rift.
I will say one thing that is helping C9's front line is the double copies of the Gargoyle Stoneplate with the Locket of the Iron Solari. That's a temporary 1,500 or so health shield that they can trigger in these team fights whenever Mystic is pressing W to go for that huge amount of damage. And when you made that analogy earlier about C9, Papa Smithy, about nailing the multiple choice, maybe the middle of the test was the short answer. And they're doing a pretty decent job on the essay portion because team comp-wise, they shouldn't actually be staying in this game.
And if this game had ended at 32 minutes where it looked like W would roll through, you would wonder what C9 came away with from this game. But the fact that it's been extended, the fact that C9 has showed excellent play, almost against the odds in the late game, just serves as a taster for what the rest of this series could be. C9 had a wonderful early game. WE's defense, it seemed like it was unnecessarily risky with their draft, but it still was impressively done. You're going to see the replay here. 957 just opposite to too much damage in the trap as well.
Yeah, and Condi was also at about half health, not willing to pull the trigger on a full engage, which allows C9 to step up. A little bit of the protection is coming through from Jensen, and they're trying to get all the possible damage they can out of this. They've actually built the Zeke's Convergence on Lulu, which, when I run the math on this item, is pretty good in the very late game, because it's a multiplier of about 25% more overall damage since it's deferred over 2 seconds for a max item.
And I want to talk about the itemization a little bit from Mystic. We said before, IE complete. Remember that a lot of these builds were Wit's End, very on-hit focused, a Frozen Mallet. He went Infinity Edge, Blade of the Ruin King the moment he saw the double adaptive helm.
Sneaky taking a lot of damage from Xie again. Using that package, Locket forced out. That's Contracts that use Tears. But Impact holds his ultimate, and Sneaky should be able to heal up as long as Smoothie's next to him applying those shields.
Yeah, that matchup was just stacking not on Sneaky, so he dies real fast. I had to cut my point there, but he had to vary his damage profile here on Mystic, so he just didn't get completely answered, specifically by magic resist stacking, and especially the adaptive health.
Well, C9, hold on. Sneaky stays alive as a very big Cho'Gath going to wander down towards Impact, who's trying to get the pressure started again. This time in the bot lane. Impact does need to keep doing this because, again, C9, we talked about pure 5v5 is not going to look too good for them. So optimally, Impact is out applying pressure on the side lanes, and C9 can either force something or try and seesaw the map pressure. But with Baron back in 20 seconds, another big point of tension is bubbling.
Yeah, with the package up, you're wondering if Team WE is going to be willing to go for the engage, because as much as we talk about C9 not threatening Team WE hasn't threatened C9 that much in the last 15 minutes or so either.
They don't really have engage. You know, that is something they are lacking. They have great siege setup. They can win most 5v5 fights when they're enacted on even territory, but Cena just saying no even fights. Sneaky again.
Yeah, Xie holds the package, though, and Sneaky healing back up. Have to kill 80 carries completely. That's kind of the rule this metagame.
It's hard with a John and Lulu, let me tell you.
And it's the Blade of the Ruin King that's also sustaining Sneaky so much. Building that against the Warmog's Cho'Gath is helping his damage profile quite a bit.
Well, inside track for WE onto the mid inhibitor, and it is down for now, but again, Super's riding in, might threaten the Nexus turret. C9 gonna take the long way around, maybe.
This could be a big point of conflict. Team W want this control so that they can then cheat towards the Baron, but C9 don't want to let him
Condi
out.
split onto Sneaky, moves it back into the team, and the Wild Growth is burnt down now. 957 the target, but Mystic is unleashing hell. Again, WE now actually on the wrong side, but Impact took too much damage there. C9 don't really have cooldowns.
Yeah, track them on both sides. Stand United wasn't used. Ben has his ultimate, just redemption to heal everyone to full.
Ironically, it's benefiting Sneaky to have a Raptor camp to lifesteal up. He gets back to full health. Only Mikhail's of the actives is available for the supports.
If there was some way to heal the C9 front line, they would be more confident about this play, but they're going on Baron regardless.
They're going to force here. They kind of have to. They do get damage on the 957. Sneaky going to dodge that next Rupture, but Xie so threatening even without the package. The front line's just too unhealthy. Sneaky gets knocked up, but he's going to get away. Ben gets tagged for a shot. In here back up, that might buy some time, but WE's top lane, side lane also working in their favor.
Impact is back to full health, in base, waiting for the Stand United option. Creeps in the top lane in the minimap are hitting down the end of turret.
Yeah, and that's where C9 want to cheat. They actually want to clear that minion wave. That turret's most likely dead. That's why Impact is on the way. Contracts, though, still very low.
Very unsafe as Sneaky keeps taking pot shots from the Corki. C9 forced to see Baron control. Condi even looking for the flank here. Not going to land it, Sneaky. Be careful! Contract doesn't quite get the knocker, but there's the stage and the wild growth again. 95 seconds to target. Mystic and Condi almost go down. Jensen did so much damage with his ultimate.
This is where not opting for Warmogs and instead going for Stoneplate Locket is actually hurting C9 because Contracts has not been able to heal up as many other Warmogs tanks would. Meanwhile, Ben did heal fairly substantially with the ultimate, and 957 has the Warmogs.
It's lose-lose here. Baron's so low, or it's on base.
Jensen not here. Contracts maybe can find a miracle steal. Doesn't get it. Beast is good, but he flashes out to safety. Now Impact trying to take the brunt of the damage. Shea moves back in. It's dead. Taken down by Contracts. 5v4 for C9, but Baron went to WE.
What a big mistake by Shea. They play around Baron for 8 minutes, and he just steps forward to get rid of the next 60 seconds of that power.
Just like C9 at 15 minutes, WE held all the cards at 46 minutes. Not even about the comp, it's where they had the minion wave at. Jensen had recalled, wasn't even there for the Baron take because he needed to answer the minion wave. He quickly had to veer over. It was the right decision to start Baron. They secure it, and then Shea getting just slightly over-eager changes everything. Contracts tried, but he was not going to get it over.
Exactly. It was a 4v5, and the Smite and Feast were actually comboed properly from Team W, but then he Valks forward way ahead of his team.
Insult plus injury there. That was bad news for Shea. But again, almost back out. 10 seconds left for the Elder Dragon spawning in 15. Cloud9, it's their turn to try and play proactive.
Yeah, and I think C9 is going to force right around the Elder Dragon, maybe try to get some poke down right now.
Doesn't it? Does have TP, but yes, still dead. Now back alive. Commits it instantly.
And that's what he should do. Team WE wants to get mid lane control to then push C9 off the Elder Dragon.
Well, again, WE still positioned well, but C9 have the priority now again, racing down towards the Elder. But this will be risky if they go for it.
They're going to rush it, and it could cost them inhibitors or the game if they don't get this.
Notice there are no summoners on the initiators, but summoners on all the carries. It's so difficult to pull the engaged Condi once.
957 can't get in. Elder Dragon over to C9. Impact over to Tolan up. They're going to try and burn down the front line with the Elder Dragon buff. Sneaky going for the damage, but Mystic is positioned well. It's so tight as a redemption. But oh my god, that damage. Voice of Light flashed out of by Mystic. Contracts though still going. Looks to dunk Shea. Almost goes down, but he flashes out of the way.
A lot of indecision by Team WE right there. They didn't know if they wanted to commit to inhibitors or fight at the Elder Dragon, and then they end up picking a fight against an Elder Dragon C9 team who burns multiple summoners on Team WE and now push.
Because the inhibitor had respawned, there wasn't even minions pushing in. The minion wave's here for Cloud9. They're the ones trying to get their first base turret of the game.
Time to bust through there for C9 perhaps. Kind of wears out. Big sideline pressure from WE, maybe preventing a potential siege, so the tension barely dissipates off of Summoner's Rift. C9, they'll reset.
What if I told you that at Worlds 2017, WE would get heavily beaten in the early games? They actually have the fastest average game time at this tournament at 31 minutes. They were the ones that delayed the Caitlyn strategy. C9 were number 2, and using their own strategy, used it against them. WE got what they have so many times in the LPO. They made the defense even with a very greedy Kog'Maw Janna draft, but yet in the late game, where it feels like the deck was stacked for WE, C9 is outthinking them, and in some places, outfighting them.
And Papa Smithy, we've had this conversation throughout the quarterfinals. I'd say that it's not realistic. Just like I would say Samsung trio in Longview was unrealistic, or that Misfits taking SKT to the brink 2 days ago would have been unrealistic, but so many things have defied expectations here at the World Championship, including the seesaw of this game for the reasons you mentioned.
The scriptwriter needs a race, what I'm hearing from all of this.
I'll let him know as Baron is spawning in C9. Actually still have about a quarter of the duration on that Elder Dragon left. Sorry, that was the Baron buff wearing off. We'll get back to where we're going. But C9 again could still maybe make a fight happen with this buff. The likely result is, again, we go for a full reset and wait for the objectives to spawn or for the next fight to happen.
And what I do find really interesting about this damage profile for Mystic is he's gone for the crit build, but Kog'Maw doesn't have space in his build for Last Whispers. So yes, he was diversifying his damage profile, but as far as 6-item builds go, this one isn't that great.
I think it's just a simple point right there. If you diversify your profile, you don't do either thing as well as if you fully committed to it. He certainly can't sell the boots with Lulu. Movement speed made 2 crits coming through from Sneaky kills him. So he is caught between 2 masters with the build.
And Sneaky has done that, like you mentioned or alluded to there. 6 items fully, no boots needed for him. As Jensen, again, eats a lot of poke. He's not particularly tanky as the Banshee's Veil gets stripped away by the living artillery. And all of a sudden, we're in a 50-minute game 1 for our last quarterfinal here. It's seen it have to do something that almost no team in the world can do. That is out team fight WE in the late game.
And what's crazy is they couldn't win a team fight 25 minutes in with a 5,000 gold lead, but suddenly at 50 minutes, they've actually been advantageously facing WE.
I'm going to give C9 a little point of credit. They couldn't buy a team fight. They couldn't get a team fight. They weren't getting access to one. They were flanked with what they wanted. But you're right, they couldn't engineer the team fight they were set up to win. And now we're in that surreal spot where the ones they're supposed to lose, they're very competitive.
And when we said C9 couldn't engineer a team fight, we're seeing the same thing from Team WE. The teams with the advantages in this game haven't been able to push them. They can't get through the front lines. And when their carries do step up, they're getting blown up. Xie vouched forward for the trap at the Baron area. The first fight that C9 lost that gave Baron over Team WE was a sneaky flash forward into instant death. So whenever either of these teams have tried to be too proactive, they paid the price.
And let's talk about how WE actually can be proactive. It's difficult.
82,000.
Wow. It's a lot of sneaky. Contract was double.
Missing out, Sneaky actually going to the front.
He's going to go down. Oh, he actually killed Sneaky before he died. 4v4, 957 late to the
I don't know if they have the damage here, C9.
Xie might have enough. Impact pops the stone play, but 957 is chasing. Here comes Condi, looking for the flank. Silence Rupture in onto Impact. Body slam on a contract, but Impact flashes out. Knockback on a smoothie. Cask is not good. But Xie, he's still a marksman. Going to try and shoot down C9. Jensen looking to buy time. Voice of Light pushes them back, but it's only 2. Gets interrupted. They're still running his contract. Goes back in, flashes out. Has to save
all
his teammate
defense right now because one team still has an 80 carry. It's Xie from the mid lane. That's why they're feeling confident right now.
Sneaky was killed with both summoners up in an instant. That's the high damage from both sides. And him dying means that WE, they've got Corki. They're happy to push up.
Not only that, Papa Smithy, Lulu Wolf, Lulu heal. So unsurprising, everyone was tunneled on killing Mystic. They forgot that he would do damage back to them. That could have been a game-winning fight for C9, but Mystic returning the damage on his Sneaky, and Sneaky not using his summoner spells keep this game open.
Sync death timers, that was almost simultaneous as we'll watch it again.
They were feeling so good, they're like, wait, Mystic doesn't have flash. This is our time. They get their man, they take him down, but watch the return damage on Sneaky.
Oh my
Holy crap,
God.
those 3 autos.
Crit, crit, boom. He also got his spells off on him. The ultimate did get him in the end. The Shen ultimate was used onto Impact. Defense was an afterthought for C9 when going into that fight. He did 5,500 damage in the midst of getting killed.
He couldn't even control his positioning. It was the previous Kog'Maw, it felt like, in that particular area, the one that had the 5 attack speed cap and just couldn't actually stutter step.
All right,
He stutter step.
Roller coaster's not done yet. Baron is up, Condi flushed up in the Cataclysm. Everyone's back alive though. Mystic running back towards his team.
Not there yet.
In a temporary 5v4, but 957 here for the flank. Contract does so much work onto Condi, but now Mystic finally arrives. Rupture misses from 957. Redemptions reset both sides of the team fight. Mystic,
He's dead.
damage. He took down Jensen.
How is Mystic finding these crits in these team fights? It's still hard for C9 to run through, but without Aurelion Sol there, here they come.
Sneaky has to play the fight of his life, but CA straight into that. Damage is good, but he's alive for longer. Condi, but it takes him down. Mystic fighting contracts, but he gets that kill. And WE make it 3, make it 4 as Impact goes down.
Critical strike Kog'Maw, of all things in a tournament, dominated by the Rageblade Witsend on hit build, got the crits it needed, took down the targets, and WA win a slobber knocker of a game 1.
Absolutely insane. In-hit goes down, and WE at just barely 54 minutes will best C9 in the only team fight they needed. This is gonna be fun.
What a game 1 ending right there. Mystic didn't have the last whisper, so he couldn't kill tanks. So he decided to just ignore them in those last few fights, going straight onto Sneaky, going straight onto Jensen, and getting those last hits. Finally cut through the front to back. There's going to be a lot of mistakes that both these teams are thinking about after that game. Team WE despite the exuberance of the crowd, are not happy about the way that game played out. And neither is C9, because C9 was in a position to win after 6 minutes, and then 54 minutes later are the losers.
Our preparation for this series told us that a lot of these two teams, had a lot of overlapping strengths in the early game with how they were playing the game, high tempo, fastest average game time, and yet we didn't get it what we expected. We saw C9 go so early game focused, get the maximum from it, WWE bring back their style, delay the game to a point, but the mistakes after that were very, very surprising from both sides. I think chiefly with WE, who were in control of this game for what, 30 minutes, at least where the draft and the power spikes had led, and yet it took basically one fight to decide it all.
Yeah, and if you're looking at Sneaky and the damage he was dealing in that game, it was absolutely insane. But the unlucky thing there was he had a great game highlighted by 2 really big mistakes. The flash forward in the Baron fight and not using summoner spells when they pick Mystic. Because if those 2 things do change for C9, we're having a much different conversation. The damage charts, I'm checking right